The wait is finally over. After months of anticipation, the first trailer for Marshals Episode 1 has dropped. And honestly, it is everything we hoped for and so much more. This is not just another Yellowstone spin-off. This is a completely different beast, raw, intense, and heartbreaking in ways we never expected. From the very first frame, you can feel that something terrible has happened to Casey Dutton, and the trailer does not hold back in showing us just how far he has fallen. Let's dive deep into everything we saw in this explosive first look and break down every single detail that has us counting down the days until March 1st. The trailer opens with silence, and that silence is deafening. We see Casey standing alone on a hilltop, the wind whipping around him, and there is a grave in front of him. Just one grave. And if you look closely, you can see fresh dirt, which means this burial is recent, very recent. The camera does not show us the headstone, but we do not need to see it because we already know whose grave this is. Monica. The love of Casey's life, the mother of his child, the woman who stood by him through everything, is gone. And just like that, the tone for the entire series is set. This is not going to be a redemption story. This is going to be a survival story. Casey is not joining the U.S. Marshals to find purpose or to serve justice. He is joining because he has nothing left to lose, and that makes him the most dangerous kind of man. The next shot hits even harder. We see Casey inside what looks like his bedroom at East Camp, and there is someone lying in the bed covered with a white sheet. The room is dim, almost suffocating, and on the nightstand there are bottles and bottles of medication. It is clear that whoever was in that bed suffered for a long time before they passed. And the way Casey is standing there, frozen, staring at the bed like he cannot believe what just happened, tells us everything we need to know. He watched Monica die slowly, painfully, and he could not do anything to stop it. This is the kind of trauma that breaks a man, and we can already see it in his eyes. There is no light left, just emptiness. Then the trailer shifts, and we are thrown into chaos. Gunfire, explosions, Casey kicking down doors and taking down criminals with the same ruthless efficiency we saw in his Navy SEAL days. But this time, it feels different. He is not fighting for his country or his family. He is fighting because he needs to feel something, anything, other than the pain of losing Monica. And honestly, watching Casey unleash that kind of fury is both thrilling and terrifying because you know he is one step away from completely losing himself. We also get our first real look at Pete Calvin, played by Logan Marshall Green, and the chemistry between him and Casey is immediate. Pete is not just Casey's former SEAL team leader, he is the one person who understands what Casey is going through because he has been there himself. In one quick shot, we see Pete grabbing Casey by the shoulders, looking him dead in the eye, and saying something we cannot quite hear, but the emotion on both their faces says it all. Pete is not recruiting Casey for the Marshals because he thinks it will help him heal. He is recruiting him because he knows Casey needs a war to fight, or he will destroy himself. And honestly, that is one of the most heartbreaking realizations in the entire trailer. Casey is not looking for peace. He is looking for a reason to keep breathing. Then we meet the rest of the team, and they are all fascinating in their own ways. Andrea, the Bronx native played by Ash Santos, is tough, sharp, and clearly does not take nonsense from anyone. But there is something in the way she looks at Casey that suggests she sees right through his walls. She knows he is broken, and she might be the only one willing to call him out on it. Belle, played by Ariel Kebel, is the complete opposite. She is calm, calculated, and mysterious in a way that makes you want to know everything about her. There is a brief moment in the trailer where Belle and Casey are sitting across from each other, and the tension between them is undeniable. But it is not romantic tension. Not yet, anyway. It is the tension of two people who have both lost everything and are trying to figure out if they can trust each other. And honestly, I think Belle might be the character who surprises us the most because there is definitely more to her story than we are being shown. But the real gut punch comes when we see Tate. That poor kid has been through hell in Yellowstone, and now he has to deal with losing his mother on top of everything else. In the trailer, we see Tate sitting alone in a field, and he looks completely numb. No tears, no anger, just emptiness. And that is when you realize that Tate is not just grieving Monica's death. He is grieving the loss of his entire childhood. He has been forced to grow up too fast, and now he does not even know who he is anymore. There is also a quick shot of Casey trying to talk to Tate, reaching out to him, but Tate pulls away. And that moment right there might be one of the most painful things we have ever seen in the Yellowstone universe because it shows us that Casey has not just lost his wife, he has lost his son too. Tate does not see his father as someone who can protect him anymore. He sees him as someone who is just as broken as he is. And honestly, watching Casey realize that is going to be devastating. The trailer does not give us much time to process the emotional weight of Monica's death before it throws us into the heart of the action, and honestly, that feels intentional. Because this is exactly how Casey is dealing with his grief. He is not allowing himself to feel it. He is burying it under mission after mission, criminal after criminal, hoping that somehow the chaos will numb the pain. But we all know that is not how grief works, and sooner or later, everything Casey is suppressing is going to explode in the most catastrophic way possible. One of the most intense sequences in the trailer shows the Marshals team breaching what looks like a compound in the middle of nowhere. The coordination, the precision, the absolute brutality of the takedown, it all screams military operation, not law enforcement. And that is when you realize that this team is not playing by the normal rules. They are going after the worst of the worst, the kind of criminals that regular agencies cannot touch, and they are doing whatever it takes to bring them down. Casey is at the front of every single assault, throwing himself into danger without hesitation, and you can see Pete watching him with this mix of concern and understanding. Pete knows exactly what Casey is doing because he has probably done the same thing himself at some point. He is using violence as therapy, and while it might keep him functional in the short term, it is going to destroy him in the long run. We also get glimpses of the cases they will be working on, and they look absolutely insane. There is a shot of a massive drug operation being taken down, another showing what appears to be human trafficking rings being busted, and then there is this one terrifying moment where we see Casey face to face with someone who looks like a genuinely dangerous criminal, and neither of them is backing down. The stare down between them is intense, and you can feel that this is personal for Casey in a way that goes beyond just doing his job. Maybe this criminal represents something to him, maybe they remind him of someone from his past, or maybe Casey is just projecting all his rage and pain onto this person because he needs someone to blame for how his life has fallen apart. Whatever the reason, you know this confrontation is going to be explosive. Then the trailer shifts gears again, and we are back to the emotional core of the story. We see Thomas Rainwater and Mo, and honestly, their presence in this series might be the only thing keeping Casey from completely losing himself. Thomas has always been a father figure to Casey, someone who guided him spiritually and helped him understand his place in the world. And now, with John Dutton gone and Monica dead, Thomas is probably the only person left who can reach Casey when he is at his lowest. There is a beautiful shot in the trailer of Thomas and Casey sitting together, and Thomas is speaking to him in that calm, measured way he always does. You cannot hear what he is saying, but you can see the effect it has on Casey. For just a moment, the walls come down, and you see the pain he has been hiding. Thomas is not trying to fix Casey or tell him to move on. He is just reminding him that he is not alone, and sometimes that is all someone needs to hear. Mo is there too, standing quietly in the background. And knowing Mo, he is probably offering support in his own way, maybe by taking care of Tate, or by simply being present when Casey needs him. And honestly, if Thomas and Mo were not in this series, I do not think Casey would survive it. They are his anchor, his connection to something bigger than the violence and the grief, and they might be the only reason he does not completely lose himself to the darkness. But then we get to one of the most surprising elements of the trailer, and that is the hint of new relationships in Casey's life. Now, I want to be very clear here. This is not about Casey moving on from Monica quickly or forgetting her. That is never going to happen. Monica was the love of his life, and her loss is going to haunt him for the rest of his days. But the trailer does show us that Andrea and Belle are both going to play significant roles in Casey's life. And the dynamic between all three of them is fascinating. Andrea seems like the type of person who is not afraid to push Casey, to challenge him, to force him to confront the things he is trying to avoid. There is a moment in the trailer where she is clearly arguing with him about something, and Casey looks frustrated, but also like he respects her for standing up to him. Andrea is not going to let Casey self-destruct without a fight, and honestly, that might be exactly what he needs. Someone who cares enough to call him out on his self-destructive behavior instead of just enabling it. Belle, on the other hand, feels like someone who understands Casey on a deeper level because she has been through similar pain. What makes this trailer so effective is that it does not try to hide the fact that Casey is broken. So many shows would try to frame him as the strong, stoic hero who powers through his grief and comes out stronger on the other side. But Marshals is not doing that. It is showing us a man who is barely holding it together, who is using violence and danger as a distraction from the unbearable pain of losing everything he loved. And that honesty, that willingness to show Casey at his absolute lowest, is what is going to make this series so compelling. Because we are not just watching an action show, we are watching a man try to survive his own grief, and that is infinitely more interesting than any shootout or chase scene could ever be. The trailer also gives us some insight into how the other Marshals view Casey, and it is clear that not everyone is comfortable with how he operates. There is a tense moment where it looks like Casey is being questioned about his methods, maybe by a superior, or maybe by one of his teammates, and you can see the conflict in his eyes. He knows he is pushing boundaries. He knows he is taking things too far, but he also does not care because the alternative, sitting still and actually processing his grief, is too painful to even consider. And that internal struggle is going to be one of the most fascinating aspects of the series. How long can Casey keep using the job as a shield before it stops working? How many criminals can he take down before he realizes that none of it is bringing Monica back? And what happens when he finally hits that breaking point and has to actually face what he has been running from? Those are the questions that have me most excited for this series because the answers are not going to be simple or easy. One of the most heartbreaking elements of the trailer is watching Casey try to be a father to Tate while simultaneously falling apart himself. There is a scene where Casey is clearly trying to have a conversation with Tate, maybe about Monica, maybe about their future, and Tate just walks away. He does not yell, he does not slam a door, he just leaves, and that might be even more painful than if he had exploded in anger, because it shows that Tate has given up on his father, at least for now. He does not believe Casey can help him, and honestly, Casey probably does not believe he can help himself either. And that is when you realize that one of the central conflicts of this series is not going to be about catching criminals or solving cases. It is going to be about whether Casey can rebuild his relationship with his son before it is too late. Can he prove to Tate that he is still worth believing in, even when he does not believe in himself? Or is the damage already too deep to repair? The trailer suggests that Tate might find his own path, possibly with Thomas and Mo, and honestly, that might be the best thing for him in the short term. Tate needs stability, guidance, and emotional support, and right now, Casey cannot provide any of those things. But watching Casey realize that his son might be better off without him is going to be absolutely devastating, and I think that realization is coming sooner rather than later. The action sequences in the trailer are absolutely top tier, and you can tell that Taylor Sheridan is bringing everything he learned from Yellowstone and applying it to a completely different genre. The gunfights are intense and realistic, the hand-to-hand combat is brutal and visceral, and the tactical operations feel like they were choreographed by people who actually know what they are doing. But what makes these action scenes so effective is that they are never just action for the sake of action. Every punch Casey throws, every shot he fires, every risk he takes, it all means something. It is all part of his grief, his anger, his desperate attempt to feel something other than the crushing weight of Monica's absence. And that emotional undercurrent is what is going to elevate Marshals above other action shows, because we are not just watching cool stunts and explosions. We are watching a man use violence as a coping mechanism, and that is both fascinating and deeply troubling. The trailer also hints at some larger conspiracy or overarching case that the Marshals will be dealing with throughout the season. There are quick flashes of evidence boards, surveillance footage, and what looks like a network of connected criminals that spans multiple states. This suggests that Marshals is not going to be a procedural where they solve a different case every episode. Instead, it looks like there is going to be one major case that drives the entire season, with smaller cases woven throughout. And honestly, that is the right call because it gives the series a sense of momentum and allows the character development to happen organically alongside the plot. The final moments of the trailer are where everything comes together, and honestly, they left me absolutely speechless. We see Casey alone again, standing in the dark, and for the first time we hear his voice. He is not talking to anyone specific. Maybe he is talking to Monica. Maybe he is talking to himself. But what he says cuts straight to the heart of everything this series is about. He talks about how he thought he had finally found peace, how he believed he could leave the violence behind and just be a husband and a father. But then, everything was taken from him, and now he does not know who he is anymore without the fight. And that right there is the entire thesis of Marshals in one devastating monologue. Casey Dutton is a man who has only ever known how to survive through conflict, and now that the people he was fighting for are gone, he does not know what he is fighting for anymore. The tragedy is not just that Monica died. The tragedy is that Casey does not know how to live without something to fight against, and that is going to be his biggest battle in this series. Not the criminals he is chasing, not the dangerous missions he is undertaking, but the internal war between the man he wants to be and the man he has always been. The trailer ends with one final shot that is going to haunt me until the premiere. Casey is standing at Monica's grave again, but this time Tate is there with him. They are not touching, not speaking, just standing side by side looking at the headstone. And there is so much pain and distance between them that you can feel it through the screen. This is a father and son who should be leaning on each other, supporting each other through the worst moment of their lives, but instead they are both drowning in their own grief, unable to reach out because they are too broken to know how. And then the screen cuts to black, and we see the premiere date, March 1st, and honestly, that date cannot come fast enough because this trailer has left us with so many questions and so much emotion that waiting even one more day feels impossible. What we are seeing in this first look at Marshals Episode 1 is not just a spin-off or an action series. This is a raw, unflinching exploration of grief, loss, and what it means to keep going when everything you loved is gone. Casey Dutton is about to take us on a journey that is going to be painful, intense, and absolutely unforgettable, and I genuinely believe this could be one of the most powerful shows in the entire Yellowstone universe. The performances look incredible, the action is next level, and the emotional depth is something we rarely see in this genre. Taylor Sheridan is not holding back, and neither should we. This is going to be a series that challenges us, that makes us uncomfortable, that forces us to confront difficult questions about pain and survival, and whether redemption is even possible for someone who has lost everything. And honestly, I cannot wait to see where this story goes because if this trailer is any indication, Marshals is going to be something truly special. So mark your calendars, set your reminders, and prepare yourselves because March 1st is going to change everything we thought we knew about Casey Dutton. This is not the man who rode off into the sunset at East Camp with his family. This is a man who has been shattered into pieces, and we are going to watch him try to put himself back together, one mission, one fight, one painful step at a time. And the question that is going to drive this entire series is simple but devastating. Can Casey Dutton survive losing the love of his life, or will the grief consume him completely? We are about to find out, and something tells me the answer is going to break our hearts in ways we are not prepared for. Now I want to hear from you. What moment from the trailer hit you the hardest? Do you think Casey can rebuild his relationship with Tate, or is that damage permanent? And what are your theories about how Monica's death is going to shape the entire series? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I want to discuss every single detail with you. If this breakdown got you as excited as I am for Marshals, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. We are going to be covering every episode, every theory, every heartbreaking moment as this series unfolds, and trust me, you are going to want to be part of this conversation. Share this video with your fellow Yellowstone fans because we are all in this together, and something tells me we are going to need each other to process everything Marshals is about to put us through. March 1st cannot come soon enough. See you in the comments, and get ready for the most intense ride of your life.